I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we're going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. First thing on our agenda is the consent agenda. Everybody had an opportunity to take a look at the minutes from our last meeting?
Yep.
Any questions, concerns? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve or deny.
So moved. Second.
Good motion and second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We're going to make a couple of changes to our agenda today. First off, Sherry Dahlheim, she was item E under 2. She is on a case, will not be here with us today. I'm going to move the budget discussion in front of the closed session. And then I'm going to, Matt Wyant has a MAPA meeting today, so we're going to move the tiny home discussion right before item 2C. Anybody have any questions or concerns about that? All right, moving on. First up, we have Matt Wyant, Planning and Development, Pam Callstrip, Zoning Land Use Coordinator. Public hearing on the proposed preliminary plat of the Matriarch Manor East and Matriarch Manor West subdivision situated in Garner Township, and approve and authorize the board to sign Planning and Zoning Resolution 2022-04.
Motion to open public hearing.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Mr. Hauser, call the roll, please.
Chairman Wickman.
Aye.
Supervisors Shea.
Yes.
Belt.
Aye.
Schultz.
Aye.
And Groby.
Aye. Okay, we're now in a public hearing. Anybody wish to speak in favor?
You?
Am I supposed to get up there?
You can speak if you like to.
Hey, I'd really like this done.
What is it?
There's gonna be opportunity for 5 on the frontage. Yeah.
All right, anybody speaking opposed? All right, I'll entertain a motion to close public hearing.
So move.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Mr. Hauser, call the roll, please.
Chairman Wickman. Supervisors Shea.
Yes.
Belt.
Aye.
Schultz.
Aye.
And Groby.
Aye.
Pam, do you have any comments you'd like to make on this?
Me?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought you said Lynn, sorry. So Doreen has 2 parcels, a smaller parcel that directly abuts 205th and is divided by the road. So that would fall under the exception in our subdivision ordinance to allow for 4 homes. And then she also has a full quarter section, which allowed her to do, she could have done 4 in that one as well. So, and meets all of the criteria. It's allowed by that exception that we had put into the ordinance.
So what's your recommendation, Mel?
I would recommend it to be allowed.
Okay.
I'll make that motion to approve.
Second.
So there's rural water there then, huh?
Yes, on 205th Street.
Yeah, okay, good.
Any other discussion, questions for Matt, Pam? Mr. Hauser, call the roll, please.
Do you want a roll call on this? Chairman Wickman.
It is the planning and zoning resolution.
There it is. Chairman Wickman.
Aye.
Supervisors Belt.
Aye.
Groby.
Aye.
Shea.
Aye.
And Schultz.
Aye.
Okay, same group. Next up, we have Matt and Pam again. This is for a public hearing on the proposed preliminary plat of the Liston subdivision located in Lake Township, and to approve and authorize the board to sign Planning and Zoning Resolution 2022-05.
I'll make a motion to open public hearing.
Second.
Mr. Hauser, call the roll, please.
Chairman Wickman.
Aye.
Supervisors Groby.
Aye.
Schultz.
Aye.
Belt.
Aye.
Shea.
Okay, we're now in a public hearing. Anyone want to speak in favor of the Liston subdivision? Absolutely. Stand up, give us your name, address, and
My name is John Liston. I live at 1005 Harmony Street in Council Bluffs. And I've got a 6-acre parcel that I'd like to split in half for new construction projects.
You're gonna hook onto the water right on the highway there?
Tapped it twice. Yep. Any questions?
any questions for
I
Julie?
don't, everything's right here.
No, what kind of, well, I have one question. What kind of timeline are you looking at? Which,
I'd like to start I'd like to start building on the one right away,
cool.
as soon as I could. Yep.
Awesome.
They just, both of them have to get their final plat done, which will
Well,
come
sure.
before
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
but that shouldn't take long.
Correct.
That's great. Both of them are great. I mean, it's always good to get
You'll access
new
that
property on the tax rolls, so.
It is.
Pardon me?
one driveway?
It'll have one driveway, access both lots.
Okay.
Motion to close public hearing.
Second.
Wait a second.
Well, I guess unless
Does
there's any-
anyone want to speak opposed to the Liston subdivision? Okay, now we'll entertain a motion to close.
Motion to close.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to close. Mr. Hauser, call the roll, please.
Chairman Wickman.
Aye.
Supervisors Belt.
Aye.
Groby. Shea.
Aye.
And Schultz.
Aye.
Ma'am, you have any comments you'd like to make on this one?
It meets all of the criteria. You could demo the 2 existing homes, build 2 nice ones close to town. I think it'd be a good addition to the county for sure.
So is that your recommendation?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Motion to approve board resolution, planning and zoning resolution 2022-05.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Mr. Hauser, call the roll, please.
Oh, we did that.
No, this is for the
This is for the
resolution.
resolution.
Oh, well, that was the closing. Chairman Wickman.
Aye.
Supervisors Belt.
Aye.
Groby. Shea.
Aye.
And Schultz.
Aye.
Okay, this is where we made one, agenda amendment, and this is going to be, Matt Wyatt. Is Rita coming?
She got sucked into a meeting at the jail. She said she was gonna be running just a little bit late, so I don't know. If you wanna do another agenda item ahead of that.
Yeah. He's here somewhere. He just texted me.
Okay. This is a,
When's Rita's meeting done? Or is she not able to go? You said.
Thanks, John.
See you, John.
Matt, you said she can't go.
She was running just a little bit, she got sucked into a last minute meeting at the jail, but I think she was kinda thinking it might be real late in the agenda, so she might not be able to make it until quite a bit later. I'm not sure when that meeting at the jail was gonna get finished.
I mean, personally, I think it's important that she's here if she can. Can you give me just a minute? I'll call her. and try
Yeah, like I said,
Or just message her.
I'm okay till about 11 o'clock, but, or about 11, I'll have to head out of
You
here.
know, Tom is in the hall. His last name is Hall, Tom Hall. Tom Hall in the hall. Maybe check out here and see if he's here.
okay. You wanna move forward, Justin, or you want me to just keep moving on
Well,
down?
I mean,
See where
We
we're at.
can hold on till 11.
I think it's important she's here.
Tom, are you okay with doing it at 11?
I'll make it work.
Okay.
We're just waiting for someone.
Well, so our VA director got pulled into a meeting with the jail, so I'm gonna call her real quick to see if I can
Okay.
hear her.
We'll hold tight here just for a second.
You meet with Halverson? Bethel?
Mike? Yeah.
Halverson?
Mhm.
And, 2 issues?
Yeah, we're gonna talk about a couple things.
Okay. Roads at 92 and 6.
Yeah, we're gonna talk a little bit about that road planning that we discussed, and then, we're also gonna talk about,
Lightning fast.
That was quick.
Okay, we're gonna start now, so come on up, Morgan.
Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and move forward with, we have Tom Hall, Rita Dooley, Matt Wyatt, discussion concerning the tiny homes for homeless veterans project. What do you want to lead this off?
I can just kind of start real quick.
Okay.
So I asked this to be on the agenda. So Mr. Hall here, Tom and I served together overseas, Operation Enduring Freedom 2010, 2011. We've been in National Guard together for many years. And, you know, his group is looking to be partners with the county on this effort. And I think what we really want to do, just because we're looking at timelines, we're looking at other projects in the area, a lot of other things going on, felt it'd be good to get us all in the same room and at least talk about timeline and what kind of things are needed from the county's perspective to get this project moving forward. So that way his team can kind of take the second half of it and go from there. And so I asked, you know, Matt and obviously Rita to be here because Rita's team will be, whether you know it or not, you'll be involved in a lot of the casework, you know, as this goes on. And your predecessor, we went down to Kansas City to look at some of the tiny homes that were down there for their project and get some ideas of how we can get ours going. And, you know, there's an absolute place that our county commission and our department will be involved with that process. And then obviously Matt being here, he's been involved kind of in this discussions for several years. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. What I really want to do, really, the goal, the end state of this is to try to get somewhat of a timeline out of it and try to get an idea of what the responsibilities of the county will be, what the responsibilities of Tom's group will be, and then we can kind of talk a little bit about what this thing will look like and, you know, go from there. So just so, Mitch, would you mind pulling up a map real quick of just south of the jail, that piece of property on North 15th Street?
You want the overhead down?
Yeah, if you don't mind. And then, did you want to show your concept at all today, or did you?
That's entirely up to you. Time permits, that'd be great. If not, we can.
Yeah, I think it'd be worth it.
Wow. It'd be worth it.
Can you have that on YouTube, or is that on like Google Drive still?
I'd send it to you on the Google Drive.
Okay, I think I still have your email. I'll forward that to Mitch, and then Mitch can open it. So I guess first and foremost, the piece of property that we're looking at is off North 15th Street. For those that don't know, it's just south of our Potawatomi County Jail. Initially, that piece of property was purchased to, I think the board at one point in time was looking to build an EMA facility there. I'm not really sure why.
It was a 911.
911 center, and ended up not panning out. And so that piece of property, so it's that green kind of goofy looking one there in the middle. That was not a good description of it, but you can see Walmart there on the left is your big kind of landmark, and then off to the east of that is that kind of long skinny parcel there. That's the so we're talking right here, this piece of property. And actually it's more like this, but anyway, that piece of property we own. Currently we lease that to a local farmer. That person is under contract. We did not notify him in time to start work this spring, so we would have to find a way to either ask him to cancel his lease or let us buy the lease out or something along those lines if we wanted to get going this year. Otherwise, we'd have to wait and let him get through harvest this year and then, you know, obviously let him know in writing by September 1st that we're not going to let him lease that property anymore. So the reasons this piece of property is important and why we chose this one, number one, it is very close to other services in the area. So if you look to the, to the west there, you've obviously got Walmart, so there's a supermarket that's within walking distance. There's also a clinic and some other different kind of, private services that are available on that little strip mall to the south of it. It's also just to the north of the Lincoln campus where this type of population that's going to be, living in these homes will be able to take advantage of some of the programs that are offered there as well. It's also along major bus routes. And then obviously being close to the jail, you have that inherent security that's just basically already there, which is a good thing, we believe. Like I said, it's 13 acres. Property's already been surveyed. And yeah, we just think it'd be a great opportunity. Otherwise, we're really not pulling a ton of money off it on the lease by any means. So it's not like there's gonna be a big loss to the county by changing this. And I think it's gonna offer, every one of us board members have talked about it in some capacity about the homeless population in our community. We believe there's about 50 homeless veterans in Potawatomi County that we know about. And by doing this, we'll be able to at least probably tackle somewhere in the neighborhood of 25 to 35 of them, get them off the streets and into stable housing. And then there's other programs that'll get them into permanent housing later on. The average is about 2 years or less that they'd be in these homes. It's not a permanent thing. And there's a lot of other foundations that are interested in partnering with us. And so, yeah, so I'll kind of go from there. I don't know, Tom, if you want to kind of talk your concept maybe and
Sure.
Talk about what you guys are envisioning.
So I guess this is where the conceptual renderings would come into play, but prior to showing you guys that, there is a big team behind this. And the reason that I chose to leave them out of today is I wanted this to be answer your guys' question type of deal. And the reason being is without a commitment, and I'm not asking for, yes, we're full steam ahead right here, right now, but without some kind of formal commitment, without the county, whether it's this parcel of land or another area, it's very difficult for us to promote that as a 501c3. So when we ask donors or ask for partnerships and things of that nature, well, what are you trying to accomplish? What are you doing? And I give them concepts, especially in today's economy. They're a lot more reluctant to give those donations, to give that partnership. When there are around the country, there's other tiny villages, there's other people. I'm not reinventing the wheel, but what I am trying to do and what I want to do is what we always do around here, do it bigger, do it better. And when I say better, not with all the glitz and glamour, but the services that are rendered, the details that are given to these individuals. And that's really what we're focusing on. When I designed this, it was designed to go on 25 acres, okay? That was prior to me having a meeting with Justin, because Justin had said that you guys were interested in doing a similar deal. I'm like, well, why don't we just, partner up, try and do something together? We're right here on the border. We got Nebraska, we got Iowa. I live in Nebraska. Obviously, you guys are here in Iowa. I served over 22 years in the military. The bulk of that was in the Iowa National Guard, so it's very near and dear to me. I have also been influenced, Douglas County, and hopefully you guys get it at some point too, runs a program called the VTC, which is Veterans Treatment Court. And it gives them basically a second chance. One of their biggest hurdles is finding homes and getting them into the rehabilitation process. A lot of red tape, a lot of waiting. These individuals don't necessarily have that. So there is a twofold here that I'm trying to accomplish, not only getting the homeless off the streets, but also partnering with the courts, working with the courts so that these individuals have somewhere to go. They have stability to complete their programming. So that's really the basis behind it. The foundation's the Freedom Run Foundation. It's given these guys the opportunity to come back and a chance at running their lives. When we're in the military for as long as a lot of us are, it's dictated to us what we do, how we do it, when we do it. And so when they come back and they end up on the streets, it's because that structure's gone. They don't have anybody telling them what to do, where to do it, how to do it. The flip side of that is we want them to run their own lives, but they're so accustomed to doing it on their own. And so when they don't have the help, they throw their hands up, then it becomes substance abuse, addiction, the I don't have anywhere to go, nobody will help me. Truth be told, there's a lot of resources for veterans. We're just trying to be part of that. The problem is navigating that. I don't know how many people in here have tried to navigate the VA system, but it's not the easiest road to travel. I retired in 2020. I have stepped foot in the VA one time in over 22 years, and that was just for a post-deployment assessment. That was it. I've never received care from the VA. The first question they ask these individuals when they go into the VA, how much money does your family make? Do you have insurance? Well, excuse me, but why the heck would I be sitting in front of you if I have insurance, right? I've had multiple spine surgeries. They've all been done on the civilian side. I've had leg surgeries, all been done on the civilian side. So these individuals, they collapse when they don't have the help. And we're just looking to be a resource for that. Let them feel comfortable. You know, it's not going to come without challenges. I'm not naive to that. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's going to be the perfect landscape, but it's worth a shot to me.
You're gonna build these in waves, right?
Yes. So, given this, if we were to move forward on this piece of land, we would have to do it in smaller stages than previously planned. Now, the whole layout is going to change as well. And that's when I ask for some kind of, whether it's a handshake or a, hey, thumbs up, Tom, we're with you, type of agreement, it allows me to adjust those plans and the concepts to fit this piece of land. You guys have had it surveyed on your land, on your side, but on my side, now we have to put it to scale. And right now, the scale I have it at will not fit that piece of land.
Tom, do you have, for the life of me, cannot find that, I have it somewhere, but I cannot find that email that you sent me. Would you be able to forward that to me again, and I can put your initial concept on the, are you able to find it maybe?
Yeah, it was sent to you on the 11th.
Which email?
Would have came from my company, Frontline.
Matt, will we have to raise that piece of property any?
That would all be, you would want to, yeah, it's gonna have to have an engineering assessment done on it, because there is some wetlands.
I'm sorry,
down there.
November 30th, Justin, is when I sent it to you. Yep.
We did go over and talk to the city of Council Bluffs about this part of it, and Matt Cox was involved, Brandon Garrett was involved in that conversation, and, they embraced the concept of it being down there. There's still a number of different questions to kind of work out on, would it be public streets? Are we looking at a private drive? I think Tom having conceptuals like this would be beneficial to being able to move the project forward, and maybe it's something that now we can, if we have a group to work with on this, because I do think it's best suited in like a nonprofit's hands, and then the county can work out an agreement with their 501c3, just like we have with other 501c3s, to utilize the ground in that way. But at the same time, we still have some oversight on it, right? So, because God, if something ever went wrong with the project, the county would want to be able to either make sure that this 501c3 could either purchase the land and just be solely on their own, or pull it back to the county, however that worked out. But that's kind of the initial steps.
So you think the next step, Matt, if the board wants to move that way, is to try to put somebody together and give us a site concept, or do a site evaluation of what can work there, where it can work?
I think it would be good to have some meetings with Tom's group and hear about their conceptuals that they have and how, I mean, obviously our piece of ground has some challenges. And so, just to be able to see how a concept like his would go down there.
Would they need to, change some ordinances in the city then also?
It didn't sound like they were gonna have to, no.
Okay.
You know, we would have to go to the,
Get a
we could
variance.
change it to, yeah, change it to industrial or something.
Yeah, we had to get the zoning on it changed, cause I think right now they got it kind of just in
They-
a hang.
They didn't see any issues with it. They said that we had to more or less run it the same way that the current homeless shelters do, as far as, so they wanted permanent structures and not temporary structures, which, that's not, I don't think any of those issues, they're not issues that we're gonna not be able to overcome pretty easily.
City
They were
was
very
willing to
supportive.
go along.
Oh, they were super supportive. They all came in here and explained to us what we need to do, how to do it. So I think, for Tom's sake, I think we just need to kind of give him it's like you said, he doesn't want to run around and tell a bunch of people, hey, we're gonna do this, give money to our nonprofit because we're gonna build tiny homes, until he has that commitment from us to say, you know. that we're gonna do
To
it.
back that up, ladies and gentlemen, we've been working on this for 2 years. And I have never made it public for that, few other reasons, but mainly for that reason. Before he plays this real quick, let me just kind of explain what you're gonna look at. So the initial piece is the first phase that I wanted to do. And it is outlined in the shape of the Medal of Honor. And there's 5 points on the Medal of Honor. Those 5 points represent cul-de-sacs on this layout. In the middle of that, and I kind of stole this from Camp Dodge, if you've ever been up to Camp Dodge, there's a big main building. It's called the Freedom Center. In the middle of this is where we would put our Freedom Center, and that's gonna house your computer labs, your counseling rooms, things like that, right? Basically, community center, if you will. On the back side of this that you're gonna see is, it's gonna shoot out the back, and then you're gonna have 2 streets that go out the back. If you look at those 2 streets represent a photograph taken the morning after 9/11 of the Twin Towers. And so that's how the concept came to be about, is that the Medal of Honor phase, when it all got completed, was to take care of more of your pre-9/11 vets, and then post-9/11 vets on the other area. Don't mind the music. The music is what the architect put on there, but if it doesn't play.
Tom, what about the ongoing maintenance on each individual home?
Good question. So this is gonna be designed to be a gated community, right? And we'll have a mayor governor, whatever term you guys want to call it, right? Your ongoing maintenance will be run by the foundation, whether that's we have an agreement locally with local landscape company, or we have also spun the vision, the individuals that live in these homes, we get them trained to do, whether it's be a chef, be a landscaper, whatever it is, right? And they can form that into their own community maintenance so that when they leave this place, they can go get a job. Well, we help them with job placement, but they can maintain their own property, just get back into society and do those things. But hopefully that answered that. It's either going to be, we have a local company do it, that the foundation hires, or we get individuals trained to do it.
What's your average stay there?
So if we go by the data from the other tiny villages, they like to get them out between 12 and 18 months. Your average program is 18 to 24 months, whether it's substance abuse, any kind of addiction. Typically, they don't consider them ready to go until that 18 to 24 months, because they feel like it takes one full solid year of repetition, sobriety, whatever it is that they're going through. A lot of people say it takes 30 days to form a habit. I disagree with that, but in these cases, it's been a solid year to get them into these programs, get them settled, get them comfortable. Then you truly start the rehabilitation process. I mean, what you have to understand is you're pulling these individuals essentially off the street, out of a program where they have just, lack of better terms, been dogged, right? They can't get any help, they can't get anywhere, so it takes time. They got to build that trust with us just like we do with them.
Some of them are going to be relatively quick, if there's not a substance abuse issue, if there's not a trauma kind of thing going on. Excuse me, down in Kansas City, they're averaging about 14 months. They planned on it being 2 to 3 years. So I think what we'll find is the similar trend, that when we get these folks in here, that we'll figure out what our average will be, but I would venture to guess it'll be less than 2 years. But if not, I think we tailor our programs, and I think that involves your caseworkers and some of Rita's staff really to work with, the VA and those programs. So the caseworkers will ultimately be able to tell them, so things like, I'm not sure what your vision is, but like, if this campus is a dry campus, for example, down in Kansas City, they allow them to be able to go have a beer, go to a bar or whatever, but it's based on what their caseworker recommends. So if their caseworker says absolutely not, this person does not need to be on alcohol, then it's not allowed. And so they kind of separated up the way that they do their neighborhoods similarly. And I think we'll have our own lessons learned too. I hate comparing it to Kansas City because it's not going to be the same thing, but there will be some lessons learned I'm sure we can draw from there. One thing that they've discovered, for example, is that they used to blend everybody together. So you'd have a Vietnam era vet, and then you'd have a modern era veteran side by side, and they realized that was not a good idea. And so now they've tried to place similar conflicts in similar groups. Now they still have like their community center, and they still do things together that way, but as far as the actual living situation, they try to keep them in similar eras, which has helped them. Now, that may not be a concept we have to worry about. I don't know.
And we did do a study, proof of concept in Omaha. My group, we went and bought rundown homes. We rehabbed them, and we physically, literally, whatever term you want to use, we drove downtown and we pulled homeless vets off the street. And we housed them. Essentially gave them the keys, said, it's your time. We got them into programs. We got them, what they needed. We helped them navigate the VA. I personally did not, because it's frustrating, but it's the way it is. We showed them all the opportunities that they had. And the only thing that they wanted, no handouts, they didn't know it was coming. When a lot of these individuals, And we did use them as studies. A lot of these individuals, when they started going south, it was they lost their job, they lost their home. All their stability went out the window. So when somebody loses their stability, they feel like they don't have anywhere to go. And so by giving them somewhere to lay their head and work on what they needed to work on, 9 out of 10 made it. 9 out of 10. So for whatever that's worth, we did do that before I even attempted to envision this.
I think too, with the fact that we'll have caseworkers that'll be assigned to these folks, it'll help even more. I mean, it'll be a government-run program, more or less, that's tied into with a private foundation. I think our success rates are gonna be substantially higher. Just from my perspective, when we first started talking about doing this, I wanted it to be similar to like what we did with the Dream Playground. It was a community-type build. I envision other partners being a part of this, such as, the Western Community College, for example. They have a tech program, and talking with Dr. Kinney, he's expressed some interest to being a part of it. Now, what that capacity is, obviously we'll sort that out with Tom's group, but it might be something where they come down there and they help build these structures, or maybe they come and help wire the structures or put the HVAC in or whatever. But I think we're going to find that a lot of folks are going to want to come in, and we're going to have to find a really good way to figure out how to sort that help out, because I think everyone's going to want to be a piece of this, or have a piece of this. So
It's pretty exciting.
So what size are these here, these structures here?
So, sorry.
go ahead.
So they're all gonna look the same, at least that's how I designed it, because that's what the military does, right? I still keep my shoes 3 inches apart. Sorry. They're all gonna look the same, but your 1 bedrooms are all gonna be main level, 524 square feet. Your 2 bedrooms, if you look at the loft above, and then they'll be extended just a little bit, but your 2 bedrooms are gonna be 720 square feet. Now, your 2 bedrooms are designed not to necessarily house that second party, but here again, through our research and what we've studied, individuals going through these programs, and I'm focusing, I don't mean to, but I'm focusing a lot on addiction and substance abuse, because that's a lot of what we've seen. But these individuals have lost the opportunity to spend time with their children, to see their kids. So it allows them to at least maybe a day or two or whatever the law allows, spend some time with them. It gives them a place, hey, Unfortunately, size isn't going to allow us to do anything beyond the 2 bedroom. It's just it's not in the cards, at least on this landscape, but that's why we have 1 and 2. 30% of them will be allocated to handicap, and if the data says that we need more, then of course more would be built.
I don't have any issues moving forward with the concept. I don't know what your plan to put a group together and come back to the board with some answers to some of the questions like who's on the streets, what's it gonna cost to do an evaluation of that site, determine if there's any wet areas that need to be addressed. What's the cost to get infrastructure there? Those kind of things. Potawatomi counties, if we're gonna move forward with this, there's gonna be some funding required from us. And those are some of the questions I have.
Sure.
Trying to get straightened out before I don't have any issues with the concept. I think that's a good one. I think that's something we probably need. But show us on the layout of the land where things would sit. What's the infrastructure costs? The street issue, as Matt brought up. Any difficulties or we're going to have with the land? Is there a low spot? Matt mentioned there is a wet area there. What do we have to do to remedy that? Some of those answers. If we can get those, then I think that we could probably take this down the next step.
Yeah, I agree, and we will get you those answers. I just think from the conversations that I've had with Tom and even with Matt a little bit, is that I think the county will be in the initial phases on the hook for getting the site prepped, getting the infrastructure there. So it may not necessarily be all the roads, but it'll probably be the initial road. Like, let's just call it phase 1, for example. We'll probably be responsible to basically get that piece of ground ready to go, so that his team and our partners can go the rest of the way. So we can certainly get you those costs. I think, just in the interest of this whole thing, I think a couple things we need to explore is, can we reach out to Mr. Respaliers and see if he's willing to let us break the, see if he's willing to let us break the lease early, if he's gonna. Probably better if maybe we line up the conversation and you speak to him about it, and then we can help.
Would we be ready to even start moving forward with anything by this fall?
I think we could be if we got the ground prepped. So, I think that's just, I don't think to build this site, to get these things going is gonna take really that much time at all. I think really the time is gonna be in getting the infrastructure. We still need to go to the city and get the zoning stuff straightened out. So, there's a handful of things we need to do. But I do, not to volunteer you, Rita, but I do think that we need to get kind of a let's just call it a committee together with the blessing of the board to basically get us these hurdles, to figure out what these things are and get them figured out. So if it is, we need to know what the infrastructure costs are, we need to know if we can break this lease, we need to do that. Let's assign it to this committee and bring it back to the board. But I'd like to start putting a little bit of a timeline together to get those answers. I'd like to try to get that initial thing done in as little as the next 30 days, if that's possible.
So does the, I'm gonna call it the clubhouse or the
Freedom Center.
community center or whichever, does that come first or come last? Or?
I don't know. Personally, I think it comes later, but I don't know if that's the concept that you guys have in place.
So, we have to scale down the infrastructure first to see how big of a Freedom Center we can actually build based off 13 acres. But to answer your question, no, I want to start getting individuals into these homes. We can work out the details of the Freedom Center, later on. But as far as we devised an entire budget based off of 2021 costs. Now, things have shifted a little bit since, but my point is, we are fully prepared to also privately back the infrastructure if we can get it going, if we can get it moving. And obviously that's up to you guys. So we're not, obviously we are very grateful to whatever you guys can provide to us, but we are not going to rely or ask you for funds to do this. The mere fact that you're even considering offering up the land is more than we could ever ask for. So that being said, how quickly, to answer your question, could we move on this? It's really up to you guys. But from our standpoint, both financially and professionally, I'd go out there with a shovel today. And
Well, I think step one is we need to get a conversation with Mr. Respalier. So, maybe step two. Step one would be, let's just get this committee going. So, Matt, I'm gonna volunteer you too, if that's all right. But I think for sure, Matt, Rita, at some point we'll probably need to rope in the county attorney, because I see him squirming back there, but there's gotta be some.
I just texted you, said I volunteer to be on the committee.
Yeah.
I'm not squirming on this.
I think what we do is we'll get a meeting set, and then we need to speak with Mr. Respalier, see if he's interested in allowing us to break that contract that he has for farming that ground. He has not planted yet, but he did do some site prep last fall, so we need to make sure that, number one, we gotta make sure he's on board, because he could just say, no way, I'm farming that this year. And if that's the case, then we're gonna have to wait. But get that figured out. And then this committee, we need to figure out how to get with the city's zoning board to get the property zoned properly. So then that way we can move on to the next steps. And then I think from there, we can get the cost estimate back to this board. The board can decide what we're willing to pay for, and then hand it back over to your group. So let's get a meeting set, I guess is the next thing with this committee.
When you say cost estimate, I guess I
Like
heard.
run sewer, water, and fiber and roads
Okay, for us,
for us.
okay, I thought he said the land is all that you needed, he would go with it.
I think we just, I personally think we need to be a bigger partner than just the property and the land.
Okay.
I think we need to get, I mean, that's just my opinion, obviously I'm one of 5 of us, but I think, when we do get to that point of handing the land over, I think it should be ready for them to get started. You know, and I think there's a lot of opportunities on our side that we can take advantage of, a lot of federal grants that are out there, a lot of HUD things that are out there that we can make this a reality, probably not even cost the county a penny, but, other than our time. But,
So, just a quick question, and, you said you had 21 costs for, say, that 524 square foot one? Did you have, what was that?
So, and these are based off of retail costs,
Right.
right? So if we hired somebody to build them. So the 1 bedrooms came in at a budget of just under 12,500. It
Okay,
was 12,375, I believe.
okay.
Was that,
That's not furnished, keep that.
was that temporary or permanent?
I,
Foundation wise.
oh, so these are all slab on grade.
Okay.
How long ago was those estimates?
So those estimates were updated as of December of last year.
Okay. So those lumbers went through the roof, that's why I was asking.
Right. And so we won't until the middle of this year, because we knew, obviously, we weren't gonna put anything up tomorrow. The middle of this year is when we will go back and we will scrub all those. Now, if you guys want it sooner, obviously, we'll scrub it at our next meeting and, you know. But just to put anybody's minds, I do this every day, all day, every day. I develop land and build houses. So, I mean, if you called me an hour from now, I could almost down to the nail tell you what something was gonna cost, just based off of today.
Well, I think we get this committee going,
Just one thing I think you need to add to your list, and probably reach out to them, is Schneider. They did the survey.
Yep.
And they may have some interest in being a partner.
I did talk to Mike Geyer about this, actually,
Okay.
I did talk to him about the survey they'd already done. They indicated that survey is still good and that they do absolutely want to be a partner in this, so.
Okay.
I just talked to Mike 2 weeks ago, maybe, Mike Geyer, so let's, just for the sake of time, and let's plan on I'm gonna try to get a meeting scheduled next week, if that's possible, with this committee.
Okay.
I guess I'm asking the board if it's okay if I serve on that committee, number one, if you're
I
okay
would
with
think
that.
so.
And then I think we need to have one more board member be involved, if at all possible, just so that if, you know, I'm one guy, but I think we need two, just like we do with our other departments and committees, I just think we need to have one more be involved, so if any of you are interested.
I'll do that with you if the board wants that to happen.
Yeah, and obviously, if any of us wants to attend, you can, we just have to post it, it's not the big deal, we just have to make it a public meeting, but, okay. So yeah, we'll get that meeting going, we'll schedule it next week, and then we'll get the next steps going, if that's all right with you.
Tom, can you tell me the name of your nonprofit?
Freedom Run Foundation.
Freedom Run?
Yep, and then the development is a spin-off of that, the Freedom Run Development.
I'll get with you this afternoon and get you a date and time and place for the meeting.
Okay.
With these folks, and then, if you got people from your team that you feel need to be there as well, bring them, and, we'll get that thing going, so. Okay.
Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Tom.
Yeah.
Thank you, thanks for having me.
Yep.
I appreciate it.
Good. Thanks, Matt.
Matt,
Rita?
Matt Wyatt, when you go out, will you, bring the lights back up for me, please?
Yeah, I'll give it a shot.
Push the up arrow.
All right, next up, we have Craig Wilson, discussion on maintenance on Woodland Trail Dumfries Avenue. Craig?
Yes.
You're up, you're
My name's
on.
Craig Wilson. My residence is 1400 Tanglewood Drive, in Council Bluffs. Dick Coleman and I are here representing St. Paul's Evangelical Country Church, which is on Dumfries Road. A year ago, actually March 16th of 2021, we came in and talked to the board about improvements or possible improvements to Dumfries Road and a little bit of Woodland Trail. And I presented some maps and some justification for, there's some drainage problems and a variety of things. But our real request, or we asked if it was possible to make that a hard surface. And there was some discussion, and but I, to date, have never heard anything. I never got a reply from anybody. The engineer's office, I guess, somebody came out and put gravel down, and did improve it somewhat. But again, we never heard anything. But I'm sure that you're well aware of the development. I mean, some farmland was sold there to a developer. And there's a lot of discussion in the neighborhood about that's going to be paved. And I wondered, is that true? And
John?
Mitch, you might have pulled that map up, that too, Woodland Trail.
is there we're still concerned. I mean, there's still problems with drainage on the road. I mean, I got some pictures I
I
can
could
show
say
you.
we're still in development on it, okay? And
Well,
you'll see here.
give you an idea, I'll just give you kind of a once over of what's going on, is that the first hurdle for us was trying to figure out getting the water ran out to these neighborhoods, because we wanted to make sure that the developers could capitalize on the number of lots that were possible to be there. Yep, so there's that farm right there.
Right.
That is, Mr. Hughes owns that, he's got plans to develop it.
Yeah.
If you were to look at that as like a rectangle, the plan is to, and John, did you decide to include Aspen, did we talk about that?
No, I don't have that. So the last
Okay.
estimate you have is 240th Street from Pioneer Trail down to Aspen and Dumfries from Pioneer Trail to Aspen.
Okay, so basically 240th Street down to the corner of the gravel road there, and then Dumfries down to basically that corner just past the bridge.
You got your pointer still.
Oh, yeah, yes, thanks Mitch, this is a gift. So, sorry I'm so shaky. We're gonna pave this for sure.
Right.
And we're gonna pave this for sure. Mitch, can you scroll so that it goes down and shows
Well, that was-
more of Dumfries,
I
more of
called
this?
the engineer's office and talked to somebody, and that's what they suggested was probably going to happen.
So our plan, and we don't have it like definitively laid out, the cost figured out yet, but our plan is to actually make this a hard surface road. Now, it won't be to the grade that you can build subdivisions off of, it'll just be more of a seal coat.
That is some good news. I mean, that's all
Yeah.
we're looking for to begin with.
Yeah, and then if this piece of property is also, I don't wanna say it's up for sale, but there's conversations being had about potentially this being sold, and if that happens, if that does happen, if it does sell, who knows? I mean, this is, Casey's farmer talk. But if that happens, we'll take Woodland Trail and extend that down at least to get to where the potential entrance to that neighborhood would be if they did that. So as of right now, I don't think there's really there's nothing that says we are doing this tomorrow, but it is on our list of plans that when we have asked John and his team to get us costs on what it's gonna take to do that road, and it is one of our, what I'd say, elevated priorities for getting turned into hard surface. And the reason why is that when those neighborhoods are built, we want to make sure that people can get out of there and go different directions to leave instead of having to all go down Pioneer Trail.
Well, we had that conversation
Yeah.
last year.
Right.
People are gonna go that way.
Well, I think if that road's paved, you're gonna see a lot of folks going down Woodland too. And I just say that from having lived up there most of my life, but, the idea is it increases the potential out there, it makes it easier for us to maintain. I think your water issue will, the drainage issue you're talking about is gonna be solved once that does happen.
Well, yes, I would think so.
But I don't know, timeline wise, I just don't, because we don't know the cost, we haven't put it on our list to say we're doing it next month yet, I think once John has some rough estimates, I think.
Yeah, you're at 2 million on those 2 segments of road, and I want to think you had 3 set aside for the total project, but the scope kind of keeps changing on the developer, so Until they finalize their plan, I wouldn't obligate it to too much more.
Okay. So I know it's not like a huge update, but I guess the takeaway for you is that, yes, the plan is to get this road hard surface. I just don't know how quickly it's going to be. I mean, I would guess, honestly, within the next 2 years, you should see that hard surface, but I don't know.
Can't be quick enough, huh? Right.
There's a lot of concern, a lot of the neighbors that live on that road at Buckentines, for example, they bought part of Brandt's farm. They've chosen to leave that in conservation, and it's kind of like his own little private hunting ground. But they've expressed.
Who bought it?
Buckentine, Lisa and Adam Buckentine.
There was another rumor out there that, I say this wrong probably, but the Mormon church was gonna buy that part that was for sale and didn't sell, because it's got a lot of history.
Yeah, so, yeah, Adam's property, can you zoom in right about there, Mitch?
That's the house that's going up right now.
It's right here. So all this property is Buckentine's. He owns all that, and he owns that house that used to be, we used to have a sheriff's deputy that lived in that house there on the corner.
Oh, okay, now.
But they added on to it. Yeah, so he bought that piece of ground. But anyway, what I'm getting at by telling you this story is that they were on the other end of it. I don't think that they were necessarily wanting to see it paved because they were worried about more traffic coming down that road. But
That's gonna happen.
But I think the reality is that as more homes enter this area, and 240th Street's probably what I consider the backstop for a lot of development out towards Trainer anyway. We wanted to give opportunities for people to kind of, just give them more access to get in and out of that area. I realize that Pioneer Trail is going to pick up the majority, if not, I'd say probably 90% of that traffic, but we still felt that it'd be good to get people going down Dumfries and out that way too, so.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah, so I mean, it's probably the best, I know it's not the best update, but that's,
Well,
All we got.
it's better than what we had.
yeah, but it is that, I can say with confidence that it is a road that we would like to see hard surface soon.
That'll be good news to the congregation and our council.
Don't promise them anything,
I won't.
like tomorrow or anything.
I won't.
Okay.
Am I able to say anything?
Absolutely, you see your address here, that's all I need.
Dick Coleman, I live on 22846 Pioneer Trail.
Okay,
And you had suggested that the majority of traffic will use the trail. It's starting to deteriorate and we add many, many more cars. Is that would be a priority also to help maintain and upgrade that road? As you know, since the dirt haulers have worked a lot hauling that dirt out of there, there's parts of it have deteriorated quite a little bit.
yeah, I'm gonna look at John Rasmussen, our engineer, on that one. I don't know what you're.
We gotta get to L34 reconstruction yet, and I haven't even started saving for that, because we haven't finished L66, so we're quite a ways out on that. As far
But
as
it is in the
reconstruction.
discussion.
No, it's
Okay.
probably at least 8 years out,
All right.
or better.
Well, if you look at my age, 8 years is an eternity, so I may not live long enough to see the end of that project.
Well, I think it's important, and, as you think about, there's gonna be close to 200 houses roughly, let's just call it 200. That's a lot of traffic that's gonna be using that road, and, we're also looking at 240th Street, potentially take that up to 92, so I mean, that'd probably be the good time to, I'd be really careful there, because I got some farmers on 240th that have something to say about that too, but, if we go down that path, I think that'd be a really good time for us to consider getting Pioneer Trail done too.
I appreciate it, because, I moved out there when I was a little kid.
Yeah.
You didn't have any cars at all. It was gravel at that time. You have any cars at all, there was hardly any, but traffic starts now at about 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yep.
And it's constant. So
Yeah,
there will be wear and tear, big wear and tear on that road.
a few years ago, so I just, call it 4 years ago now, but I had the last acreage on Woodland Trail before it turned to gravel. I bought Clarence Peck's old place, and so, I mean, I grew up in Parkwood Acres at the bottom of the hill, across from the horse ranch over there, and so, I mean, this whole area is basically where I spent most of my life, so, I mean, it's very near and dear to me as well, and I think you know, I think we've got a lot of really good plans for that area, and I think, you know, this road, getting Dumfries done, I do think it's important for us to do, and I don't, as long as I'm around, I'm not gonna want that project to go away, so I wanna see that sooner than later. But-
Thank you.
All right, any other questions for anyone?
Thanks, you guys.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Next up, Grant Anderson.
Thanks for coming.
Approve and authorize the chairman to sign
Being
the
an old
agreement
vet, thanks for thinking about us.
Yeah, thank you.
between MAPPA and Potawatomi County for Amendment 3
That'll be a
for the
neat
city's
project.
Iowa downtown revitalization.
You guys.
Grant, you're up on that.
Thanks. So this is really to amend the admin contract end date to match the county's contract with the state Iowa EDA. So that's just extending the contract, I believe, from February 28th to May 31st. And then the state did an audit or a monitoring of the grant file for the project. And so they went through the admin contract and found that there were these missing federal provisions. So I just proposed to add that as an addendum to the agreement, and then that would satisfy their concern or issue, so.
Will that need more money?
No.
You just need a motion to approve that? I'll make that motion to approve.
Second.
Is there any other discussion for Grant on this? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Next up, we still have Grant. It's to approve and authorize the board chairman to sign the Cornerstone Commercial Contractors Pay Application number 9 for the Carson Macedonia project.
So moved.
I'll second that. I actually saw on social media some pictures of that. Looking pretty good.
Yeah, it looks nice. So it's getting close
I've been-
to being done.
So once we approve this, then do you fire that right off to the state, get the CBDG funds moving and?
Yeah, I submit it the same day I get it signed and returned.
So are we in the positive, Becky, here today, Melvin?
Becky's here.
Okay, let's see if she's emailed us the list. Is that thing in the, had you brought some?
Well, so based on my numbers, the county is owed $31,907. So those have been approved. Those grant requests have been approved. They just haven't been deposited yet.
Okay,
So those should be deposited, I would say, in the next 10 days to 2 weeks.
okay. And that's from the state?
Correct.
Okay. Have we got all the money that iOS has contributed in? Yeah?
Yes. I have some checks I'm gonna drop off after this meeting.
Okay, great. So we like checks.
Yep.
Been a motion and a second, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, moving
Thank you.
on. Hey, hang
Thanks,
tight,
Grant.
Grant, I'll sign this and you can take a look.
Okay.
Jason Slack, discussion, decision on the jail chiller replacement project. Jason, you are up.
Good morning.
Morning.
So, you guys understand the reasoning why we want to replace the chiller at the jail. We're end of life there. We're running R22 refrigerant. We just probably need to get a plan going on how we're gonna replace that. I have a proposal for $88,690 for DLR Group to engineer and get the documents drawn up so we can get this out to bid. I'm just looking for the board's blessing to move ahead with that.
Is this the one, maybe I'm confusing, 1.2 million? You think is
That's
ballpark?
that's their projection right now, yes. And we looked at trying to split it up, Justin, but it's just, there's no way we can split it into two completely separate projects.
1.2, does that include this 88, or this is above and beyond that?
That's, that should be all in one bundle, 1.2.
DLR isn't the one that's out there already.
They are, yeah, they're the ones that actually built the jail too, so.
They're doing the overseeing of the remodeling?
Correct.
Okay.
So you just need us to approve the 88,000 to get DLR going? Is that what you're saying?
Before you leave the building.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
I'll approve.
Well, the way the motion reads, you want 88,000 in that motion?
Yes.
Well, whatever, I mean, if it ends up being 95, or whatever, just whatever Jason needs to do to get.
88,000, well.
690, yeah, for DLR's engineering fees, yes.
Okay. Well, the way the motion reads now, it says to replace the jail chiller. But I can add that, DLR,
For the engineering.
Yep.
690 to DLR.
So we have a motion from Mr. Shea and a second from Mr. Bell.
Okay, thanks.
It's one of those necessary evils. What kind of lifespan is this one gonna have?
Well, we're looking 20-year lifespan on this type of equipment.
What are we at now?
With our current chillers, we're at 22 years.
22.
Yeah.
So it'll be less.
Last longer.
Well,
You're
we're looking,
saying we can get through the summer with your.
yes, I mean, we're gonna be fine getting through the summer. We just scrubbed the tubes on it, did an eddy current analysis. The chiller seems to be in decent shape to make it through the winter, or the summer, so.
Then the thought would be to do the replacement like November through.
Yeah, we would start the
January or something
replacement
like
in November, middle November, and
And
then,
this shell tube,
yeah.
is that what this design is, or what?
what's that?
This chiller, what's the design? Is it a shell tube design, or is it just use like compression with a refrigerant, or how does that?
It's a water-cooled scroll chiller.
Okay.
So, it has the cooling tower outside and
Yeah.
it's got the condensing loop on one side and the cold water loop on the other side, so.
Gotcha. Okay. So it's flashing, it's conduction flashing off the.
Yep.
Oh,
It's got a rotary screw chiller, so, we've
So
had,
water treatment chemistry we gotta put in there then?
we've been treating the water. Both loops have to be treated. With the new stuff, we look at switching over to glycol in the future, so it would definitely, solve a lot of problems there.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're gonna have supply chain issues.
Well, I imagine there's gonna be some hurdles to go over there, so.
Luckily, a lot of those are made in the US, so it should be okay. They really are, most of them.
Okay, we had a motion in a second, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, rocking on.
Thanks, Jason.
Thank you.
And then,
See you, Jason.
I moved the, budget discussion ahead of our
Did you get Jim all sorted out?
closed session.
Yes.
Okay.
So, we are now in budget discussion, and, I will turn that over to Mitch Kai.
Right. Becky's handing out here is the notice of public hearing and proposed budget.
Thank you.
I didn't know we were taking a break.
I was wondering what was going on.
Are we taking a break?
No, go ahead, Mitch.
Sure. Maybe these are good too.
Thank
Thank you.
For me. All right, I guess, just on the sheet that I just passed out, the first one. So that basically, kind of to cap off from last week's discussion, it shows, basically our operating accounts, funds 1, 2, and 11 with, the adjustment for the,
health insurance, everything adjusted as, you know, I sent in that email later last week with that. So all things considered, you know, got real close to being balanced there. We actually were a little bit more ahead in the rural and in the general supplemental than we thought we were gonna be. That still includes a transfer from general to general supplemental to make up for some there. But other than that, that pretty much takes care of that. And then from these figures, it moves over into the proposed budget that gets published in the paper this week. Is that right?
It should be, yeah, the rural paper should be out this week. I don't know about the April yet.
Will be out this week. You know, kind of the highlights to point out here is, you know, the lowering 2 cents on the levy for the general, and then the rural is maintained the same, and the general supplemental is maintained the same. The public hearing will be on the 29th at 10 a.m. And then I can give you guys any more details from there if you do like it.
I would just ask you to take a look at what was published in the umbrella yesterday, or today, or whatever day it was for the city. And just you can kind of figure out, generally speaking, what is gonna get asked of you, you know, or either of you really, of what our budget looks like. So I think it'd just be important for us to highlight the good points, you know. So obviously we're lowering the levy 2 cents, which is a big deal, but I think it'd be important to talk about the fact that we had 5.86% overall increase, but we also of growth, but then we also had X percent of growth in costs too. Just so that I guess what I'm trying to say is make it as layman terms as you can, so that when someone picks up that newspaper and they read it, they understand that, okay, well, while valuations definitely went up for the county, the cost of doing business also went up substantially, and we were able to get this accomplished at 2 cents lowering the levy. That's a big deal. And then maybe just some little snippet of forecast to what next year may look like too, you know, something along those lines. Because I just think it's important that people understand the story. And every single year, you know, I don't know if our plan is this time to do it at night, but we've done our meetings at night to try to get the public to attend, and no one ever shows up. And so I just think if the nonpareil is going to be where people get their information on our budget, and so be it. But I want to make sure our high points are in there.
Well, this will be my 6th budget, and we have either lowered the levy or kept it the same in all of those years. So maybe that's why we're not getting anybody at our budget hearings, is because we're managing the county extremely well and not raising the mill levy. I think it is important that if you do get a question on it, that we are lowering the levy 2 cents in comparison to maybe what's happening some other places, I guess I should say. And we need to thank our department heads and Mitch and Becky for getting this done. It was a lot of hard work. She spent a lot of time on it. A lot of healthy debate. A lot of healthy debate. Arm wrestling. So
it's healthy.
So not to love Tim, but this is actually the 8th year in a row that we've been able to accomplish that. So since 2014, when the levy had the largest increase in history. So I think it's a testament to this board and what we've been able to accomplish. That's a big deal. I mean, if you think about it, even if you go back in time and look at that year, go back to 2015 and look at what the costs were then versus what the costs are today, and the fact that we've been able to take that mill levy and lower it based on 2 to 3% average growth every year. I mean, we've done pretty good.
Yeah. No, I mean, overall, I think the whole process went pretty well. It was nice kind of meeting with all the departments and stuff beforehand, and me and Becky did that, so we kind of had info coming in for you guys. You know, obviously, I think both our requests and, you know, a little bit of my learning curve is, you know, trying to get the stuff wrapped up just a little bit sooner. You know, but other than that, everything was pretty good. And
A lot sooner would be great.
Yeah.
So
March
this date form's not real, I guess, – consumer friendly, the state form that we send in.
Well, it's,
Is that what you're saying?
it's, 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 No, it's not, it's provided by the state,
No, I
and
know,
we
I
fill
know.
it
So,
out.
well, then there was a hitch with the change in the mental health funding.
So-
I think they had a little glitch in their
You
forms.
go to line 3.
Had to fight through that.
Go to line 3, and it says, less credits to taxpayers, $1,600,000. And we didn't have that in the budget in 2021 and then the reestimate of 2022, 21.
That's because it doesn't put it in there that way when you go to do your actuals.
Okay. I mean, those are things that, I mean, if people look at, this is the form we publish, you know. That's why I just, and then, the other one would be line 20, which is the mental health and the disability line, you know.
Right, because they've changed that, and it's a state form, you have to ask your state legislatures if you want it differently.
Right.
I just fill it in the way they
understand.
require.
And at the end,
It's good you point that out, Scott, because that is correct. I mean, the state took that levy completely away, and I think it was right in the 40-cent range. So every taxpayer should see a 40-cent benefit to their tax bill. However, if
depending on what the other,
if another local entity raises the taxes, well, they won't see any.
right.
But the county residents will see it. Okay, keep in mind, we're gonna have a public hearing on our budget on the 29th. Is there any other questions anybody has for Mitch or Becky right now?
No,
Okay.
what are we, I do, sorry. What are we planning to do that day? Are you gonna put together any kind of presentation, or are you just wanting to kind of just announce where we are? In years past, we've done it where we've had a, fancy PowerPoint. I don't know if we wanna do that or not, I don't know if it's worth it.
Yeah, we can certainly discuss that between now and then. You know, it's a public hearing for our budget. Any board members willing to make any comments about it they want, the process? Anything else? A couple of other things we have to do that same day is to approve, when do we approve our union negotiations, Jana?
As soon as they ratify the contracts. And so, Rhodes is meeting Thursday night, courthouse is meeting next week. The deputy MOU is sitting on my desk, that they already signed, so it's right around the corner.
Oh, so we can do that next week, possibly.
Yeah.
Okay. The only other thing we have to do that day, I believe, Mr. Hauser, is
Be
we
the
act on the compensation.
Officers' salaries.
Compensation
Yeah,
board.
compensation board recommendation
And then,
and set the officer salaries.
and then we got one of the toughest things behind us, so hopefully we'll have,
So it'll get a little calmer?
never seems to happen.
No.
But I appreciate everybody's effort in that. And, you know, we spent a lot of time here.
This was a lot smoother
good,
than
though.
last year. I mean, last year was very, Becky, you know this, because you kind of got thrown into it, but it was a challenge. I mean, but this time around, it was a lot nicer having, you know, Mitch, you on board, and Becky with the information you guys were able to put together, and it just made this life a lot easier for all of us, so I appreciate that a lot, really do.
You guys done a good job.
Okay, the next thing we have is our closed session, and that is for a discussion decision on evaluation of an individual's hiring as allowed by the Code of Iowa, Chapter 21.5, Parent 1, Parent I. That will happen at 1 o'clock. So we will be in, we're gonna go ahead and adjourn this meeting. Oh, can we? No, we have to be an open meeting, go and close.
Or do we pause it?
Just take recess.
Well, you can, go in, let's see, can you go into closed session and then the chairman can recess until 1 o'clock? So you can go ahead and make this
Okay.
motion to go
Well,
in.
I'll entertain a motion to go into closed session
So moved.
under chapter 21.5, parent 1, parent I.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that? Mr. Hauser, call the roll, please.
Chairman Wickman.
Aye.
Supervisor Shea.
Yeah.
Bell. Roby. Schultz.
We gotta
Okay.
talk about that process for a little bit.
Yeah, we'll